Hi, I'm Carlin Borisenko. In early 2020, I was the knitting Democrat who accidentally went viral on the internet for going to a Trump rally and then left the party. I became the conservative darling, was on all the shows, traveled around the country, and then realized that conservatives were no better than Democrats. If there's one thing that I've learned, it's that both political tribes are two sides of the same coin. But it wasn't all bad. On my journey, I became obsessed with understanding the woke ideology and the culture war. I broke the story of the city of Seattle doing segregated training with its employees.
How bad has this stuff become? The city of Seattle has now put out, I'm not kidding you, this is according to Dr. Carolyn Borisenko, who's an organizational psychologist. The city of Seattle asked its white employees to voluntarily spend a day off in a training about their internalized racial superiority.
I broke the story that led to the first ever federal lawsuit against critical race theory in the schools. I broke the Coke Be Less White story, one of the biggest anti-woke stories of all time. It got over 30 million views. Coca-Cola's corporate headquarters even had to change their outgoing voicemail.
Throughout the past few days, you may have seen inaccurate reporting on the content of our recently launched diversity, equity, and inclusion training program.
I exposed the schools in Burlington, Vermont for grooming middle school children live on the internet. They called me an unwoke cult leader for that. And the Vermont Human Rights Commission slandered me publicly as being a hate channel. I even got called a hero in Breitbart for exposing that the Washington Post was writing a hit piece on Christopher Rufo. I have broken story after story after story about what's going on in the public schools, from Cambridge, Massachusetts, to autistic sex education, to the Department of Education in Michigan, literally training teachers all over the state how to groom children. I wrote a book called Actively Unwoke, the ultimate guide for fighting back against the woke insanity in your life. I host a podcast all about fighting back, and I'm downloading all of my knowledge to you on my Substack, carlin.substack.com. The world is a crazy place. We are literally surrounded by cults on all sides. On this show, we're going to do a deep dive into all aspects of the culture war, and I will show you the dark, dystopian underbellies on both sides. Here are the commitments I'll make to you. I will always tell you the truth. I will always bring you receipts. And if you stick with me, I promise you will see the world differently. Welcome to the cult. Please mount that like button for me and subscribe if you feel so inclined. Well, hello, everyone. Happy Tuesday. Welcome to the cult, which is either real or figurative, depending on who you ask, because did you guys know that if you... What the hell do I have on my hat? Probably makeup. Do you guys know that if you support my work in any way, you're in a cult and you're a sycophant, according to the internet? We'll talk about that today. Naruto says, so apparently WAPO declared woke dead. Yeah, I did read something to that effect, Naruto. I mean, WAPO can change the definitions, and I'm like feeling self-conscious that there's like a freaking makeup thing on my hat. Oh my gosh, there we go. There we go. That's better. Yeah, WAPO can declare whatever it wants to be dead. It doesn't mean it is. So guys, we're going to do something a little bit different today. How many people watching saw last night's late night stream? I know that many of you probably were an adult and went to bed at a reasonable hour, but I'm just curious, how many people in the chat stayed up for last night's late night stream where we well, lots of things happened. Bot saw it. Yeah, Bot, you were there. Bot is my chief sycophant. I'm tired too, Reagan. I am. That's okay, James Jones. You're allowed to not. Benjamin founded them this morning. Moxie, I know you were there. Tinge was there. Judy was there, and she slowly fell asleep. I think Grandma Nay was lazy. You weren't lazy, Grandma Nay. I was streaming till all hours last night. Everyday Therapist has been watching it today. The reason that I ask is that what we're going to talk about today is directly related to what happened on the stream last night. We're in a cult where, yes, everyone is also all me. Remember that. And I'm paying all of you. You can all expect your checks in the mail. So we're gonna do something a little bit different today. I don't want to talk about the news today. I quite frankly, I want to talk about what I learned last night, and I want to do some brainstorming about what this means for going forward. And I want to, I guess, give you guys additional insight on how I see this situation, and we're just gonna talk, okay? We're just gonna talk. If you and I'm sorry I didn't post to the cult Substack because I was just sitting here thinking, to be honest. I've been doing a lot of thinking today. Um, so a too long didn't read of last night is that so essentially yesterday I had to deal with another round of conservatives doxing my friend and spreading a ridiculous smear campaign about me that they've been spreading for the last 2 years because they get their fee-fees in a bunch. And I'm not afraid of I don't like that they're continuing to dox someone that I care about for no good reason other than lulls on the internet, proving as always that they have no consideration at all for what facts and truth and quite frankly human decency are. Um, I don't like that, but the fact is that they've been doing this to me for a while now, and so I've gotten used to it. Like I expect it. I and how sad is that? That I expect conservatives to dox my friend and to smear me on the internet. I have the full expectation that that will always happen. I have the full expectation that I will deal with that all the time. While at the same time, they will never actually know, the things that I'm really working on. Welcome, Terrell. This might be an odd stream for you to be a part of, but we're glad that you're here. Terrell is a new subscriber here, independent politically in between. Not sure where that stands in a political party. Terrell, I think that being an independent is just perfect, if I'm honest about it. It's in the mail, Sin. It's in the mail, obviously. Um, and so as a result of that, I decided to basically give Good Logic a piece of my mind because when 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 conservative content creators promote this and support these people, they are lower than dirt, in my opinion. They are not they cease to become human beings. They are lower than dirt. They are the fucking gum on the bottom of my shoe. And I think that it's important for people to know who they can trust and who they can't. And I think that it's important for people to be able to see through their own actions what they're really about. So then we watched the stream that Joe did in response to me pontificating, which really actually wasn't about him, which I don't think he's smart enough to realize. It wasn't about him so much as it was about the conservative right and whether or not they're going to be useful in regards to the things that I care about. And what I care about is moving the needle in the culture war away from woke leftist insanity or quite frankly authoritarian insanity. I think that both are the same. So we watched his stream that he did responding to me, and I didn't want to watch it. Like I wasn't going to originally. And what we discovered was far worse than I ever dared imagine. And that is the truth. We didn't even get through an hour of that stream because the things that came out of his mouth and the mouths of his audience, and I really hope Joe enjoys the money that he made lying about me on the internet. Like that's really, that's good upstanding conservative behavior. But like the things that came out of his mouth were genuinely shocking to me in terms of what it means to be in the so-called like anti-woke space, which I have said is not a real thing for a while. It's just a bunch of people infighting and competing for attention. And most of the people who claim to be anti-woke aren't even anti-woke to begin with. They're just authoritarian right. They don't wanna get rid of authoritarianism, they just wanna control everything and have it be done their way. Some of the things that were made very clear to me last night is that is that, there are a significant number of people on the conservative right that are just not smart enough to understand what's going on. And there's no way to say that without sounding elitist, but I do think it's the truth. I genuinely think it's the truth. I don't know when this happened. I don't know exactly when we got so far ahead of where so many people on the conservative right are. I suspect it started happening 2 years ago when we started really doing deep dives into their training at least once a week. And and this presents a problem, right? Because if you have a population that is not smart enough to understand the material, and it's not even that I do genuinely think it's that they're not smart enough. I really do. I think they're too low IQ. I think that and they're gonna call me a narcissist anyway, so I'm just gonna embrace my full narcissist at this point. I genuinely think that there is a significant portion of people online who claim to be anti-woke that are not even intelligent enough to understand what's going on. It's not that they could sit down and focus and learn, it's that they truly do not have, like, the mental capacity to be able to process this information. And so what happens with those people is they become outrage junkies who get sucked into internet culture, who just like are disruptive and mean and cruel for no apparent reason. The conservative right seems to think that the way to fight back against the woke authoritarian left is to be cruel. They seem to think that that's going to win people over to their side. How cruel can we be? How many people can we dox today? How many people can we smear today? How many slurs can we throw out? How many trans women can we go into their feeds and declare they're men over and over and over and over? How many people I've seen these people like calling trans women like who get bottom surgery. What does they call like they call it a like a rot canal? Have you guys seen this? It's disgusting. It's truly disgusting. They really think that being cruel to people is is a way to get people on their side. And these people are not smart, but they think they are. They think they're playing 4D chess. How many times do we hear about 4D chess when Trump was in office? They think they're playing 4D chess. And they're not even playing checkers. They're playing shoots and ladders on like a good day. They're not even close to playing chess. They have absolutely no idea what the left cares about. They have no idea what the left focuses on. They seem to be surprised that the left doesn't care about Hunter Biden's laptop or what Project Veritas does or Nancy Pelosi. Like, of course they don't care about it. They're so far away from any of the distractions that you guys are focused on. It's ridiculous. Tinge says, honestly, I was starting to slip into the mindset of an outrage junkie before I came across your channel. I'm really glad to hear that, Tinge, because I do think that, and I appreciate you bringing this up because one of the things I wanted to talk about today was I do think it is absolutely critical for I think it's absolutely critical for everyone, but definitely people who want to be in my audience to you cannot allow yourself to get sucked into this internet bullshit. You can't allow yourself to. It's going to eat you alive. It will make you an awful person. And no one is going to prevent you from getting sucked into this internet bullshit except for you. Like, I can't do that for you. No one else can do that for you. And I hope that I'm creating a space where people can come to where I absolutely will not allow it. I will not allow it. I will not allow it on my YouTube channel. I will not allow it on the Substack. I will not allow it in locals. I will not allow it on our private community calls. I will not allow it in the supporter Discord. I will not allow it. And I don't wanna see anyone, like, get sucked into it. I will do my best to help you get out of it if you get sucked into it, because I've been there. I was sucked into it. I understand. I was sucked into it until I got a month-long permanent ban on Twitter, and then I had a detox, and I saw the entire world differently once I got off of that platform. That's the truth. Now, Twitter's not the only way that you can do that, but, like, I know the road that people are going down that gets sucked into outrage culture. I know where it goes, and I know the way out. And I will help you try to get out of it if you want to get out of it, but you have to be the one to make those choices, and no one can make those choices except for you. Amelia, thank you for the super chat. Lived in Portland for 4 years. I assume you mean Oregon, and ran into a lot of progressives who do the same stuff you're talking about. When I get online and see the right doing it, I get so bummed. Everyone in a tribe is gross. Amelia, I completely agree with you. It is so tribalist at this point. It is really blackpilling. I was texting with someone actually from Project Veritas earlier today, and we were kind of talking about this. It's like the right is now just as bad as the left. The right is just as bad, and there's nothing that any of us can do to stop it. They're off on their own fucking speeding train going down the tracks at 300 miles an hour. There ain't no stopping it. But what we can do is control ourselves, right? What we can do is control what we are contributing to the world. And I think that there is a lot of good that a small group of people can do when they are not sucked into outrage culture, when they have a certain level of intelligence, when they come from the place of wanting to actually be better. We can't save everyone. We can only save ourselves. We'll talk a little bit more about that. Barefoot in Alaska, I slip all the time into outrage culture. I get caught up. I have to tell myself no and put the phone down. That's exactly right. You have to tell yourself no. Well, Sin, it was funny because it wasn't even that he didn't actually call me a socialist. What he said, I kid you not. So, do you guys know how I've been saying that I do not think that the undercover journalist who broke the Pfizer story for Project Veritas, who is not James O'Keefe, I don't think that undercover journalist is easily dispensable or replaceable. I think he's incredibly valuable. Like, so the position that Good Logic has is that undercover journalist who broke the Pfizer story, which is the story that conservatives point to all the time, is like the biggest story ever, the Pfizer story. They think that me saying that that journalist is valuable and is not easily replaceable is socialist. That's quite literally what he said. It was one of the most shocking things I have, and he said a lot of things that shocked me. But it also at the same time explained so much about this mentality. I truly believe that the right has a savior complex. That's why they do this hero worship thing. I think it comes out of Christianity. Um, oh no. Hang on. I just got a message about something else. I think it comes out of Christianity because they, of course, have their Lord and Savior. And I think that the right is always looking for saviors. This is why they do this hero worship thing, because they think that the people coming to save them are larger than life. And this is why they put packaging and branding first, because that's what they're looking for. They don't believe that they can save themselves. They're looking for other people to do the work for them. And this is exactly the problem, because James O'Keefe isn't going to save them. He's not. By the way, side note, the scam that James O'Keefe is running is actually fucking brilliant. It is such a narcissist scam. James O'Keefe is trying right now to weaponize like normal people by sending them cameras and just sending them out to do his undercover journalism for him. And then they go do all this journalism. And if James O'Keefe decides to use their footage, he pays them $1,000, which is probably like a lot less money than you would actually have to pay to have real undercover journalists on staff. And he's got all these. I mean, you talk about like a cult, man. Like, we listened in on James O'Keefe's subscriber space. We have a recording of it. It's on the channel. And James O'Keefe's private subscriber only space on Twitter was basically like a whole bunch of people are like, James, you are so amazing. How are you so great, James? How are you so amazing, James? James, you're gonna save us, right? James, it's an honor to talk to you. How do you do it, James? Are like, oh my god, I can't believe you picked me to talk, James. Like, it was like that level of like hero worship. And James O'Keefe is now like gathering all of these people together and saying, I will send you cameras and you're all journalists now. And they're all running around trying to get footage for him. And if he uses their footage, he pays them $1,000, which I'm sure they think is like amazing, but like it's like not even that much. I mean, it's like a business write-off for him. I mean, and that's what he's going to build his new business on. It is a fucking brilliant narcissist of a scam. Anyway, that's beside the point. Let me go back in the chat. There were a couple other chats I wanted to look at. Let's see. Brian, you're allowed to like Shoots and Ladders. You can like Shoots and Ladders. You can like checkers. You can like chess. You can like any game you want. But I think Brian, you understand you're playing Shoots and Ladders though when you're playing Shoots and Ladders, right? Because what's going on right now is the conservative right is playing Shoots and Ladders and they think they're playing like grandmaster level chess. So as long as you are fully aware that you're playing Shoots and Ladders when you're playing Shoots and Ladders, then it's cool, man. Jamie, welcome. This is good stuff. I became against my side for the same type of BS. I will always treat non-assholes with respect. I'll call you whatever you want. Just don't compel my speech. I feel the same way, Jamie. Thank you. The right seems to desperately need a messiah to save them, as they are not capable of taking responsibility for themselves. I agree. I agree wholeheartedly. Josh says it's very easy to get caught up in outrage culture. The algorithms try to make you mad. It creates more clicks and gets people stuck in feedback loops. The answer is getting outside and in your community. I 100% agree, Josh. I completely agree with you. I think that's what you have to do, and I think that people need to be aware that the purpose of Twitter is to piss you off. Like, if you go on Twitter, you're going into a war zone. That's what it is. And again, you're the only one that can pull yourself out of it. But I really don't think that they don't understand that they're in an echo chamber. They accuse everyone else of being in an echo chamber. No, you're the ones who are in the echo chamber. They accuse everyone else of being in a cult who doesn't agree with them. No, if you are constantly accusing other people of being in a cult and running a cult, bro, you need to look in the mirror, because that's a classic case of projection. Well, no. This is not the same thing. So Milo says, to be fair, actual whistleblowers contacting them has always been a thing for Project Veritas and something James has tried to do. That's not how it works at Project Veritas. When whistleblowers contact Project Veritas, they have a whole team of people and like that steward those whistleblowers, that work with those whistleblowers, that they figure things out, they plan things, whatever. What James O'Keefe is doing is sending out cameras, not working with anyone, saying, go forth and conquer, do your journalism. If you get anything, send it back to me. And then he's arbitrarily deciding what footage to use and what not to use. I don't think there's much of a stewardship process. I don't think there's much of like a relationship building process. It's literally he's just sending minions out into the field. And then if he feels like using their footage, he'll pay them. And if he doesn't, he won't. Are you on crack? Are you stupid? Are you stupid? Let me see. Amelia, thank you for the super chat. 100%. People really enjoy really enjoy people like Stefan Molyneux and Eric Weinstein, but they're people, not heroes. The hero worship stuff is indeed strange. It's so strange. It's crazy. Yeah, I saw him tweet about that right before the stream started. Autumn, did you know you're in a cult and you're one of my sycophants? Just so you know. So what's the point? So I want to talk about a couple things. So do we have any people managers in the chat? You guys know that I used to do like one of the main things I used to do as part of my organizational psychology practice is I would do manager training. I have a flagship manager training program. It's trained a whole bunch of people all over the place. It's a really good effing program. Some of you have taken like a webinar in my manager training program. And I agree that the left is a cult, and I think that the right is a cult too. And if Tim hasn't figured that out yet, he's not as smart as he thinks he is. So, when you are when you are managing people in an organization, you're going to have, and I think, people generally understand this. You will have all different levels of performers, okay? You're going to have your A level performers, your B level performers, your C level performers, D level performers, and F level performers, right? If we're looking on like a report card at school. Now, hopefully you fire the F level performers because you shouldn't be paying them if they're performing at the F level. But what you want and hope for is that you have enough A level performers to really carry the weight because the A level performers are the ones that are going to go above and beyond. The A level performers, you're never going to have to reprimand. They just get their work done, they get it done fast, they get it done professionally. They're ahead of a deadline a lot of times. They can they take pride in excellence. They're innovative, they're outside the box thinkers. They they go above and beyond. They're creative, they innovate, like they're everything that you could want in an employee, right? They do all the right things. Those are your rock star employees. Underneath that are like your B level performers. Your B level performers are not bad. Um, but basically like they come in, they do their job. They probably don't go above and beyond all that much. Their work is fine, it's adequate, maybe a correction here or there, but it's fine. It gets the job done. They earn their salary and all that. That's like most people in a workplace is going to be like a B level performer. They're not great, they're not bad. They come in, they do their job, they keep their head down, like whatever. Then you're going to have C and D level performers. And these are where we start to get into our problem territories because remember, you fired the F level performers. The F level performers are just like constant fuck ups. They don't do anything right. They are a drag on everything. But the F level performers are not the only drag on the team. The C level and the D level performers are also a drag on the team. So Josh says, I'm a regional manager. I'm actually about to interview for an account exec in 30 minutes. Any questions you suggest I ask? I don't know, Josh. It would depend on the job, but I wish you the best of luck with your interview. So you have these rock star performers, you have kind of your average performers, and then you have your lower level performers. Now, these are people who like They need to be you need to look over their shoulder to make sure they're doing their job. They are only gonna turn stuff in, like, when you really kinda drag it out of them. They wait till the last minute to do everything. They don't come up with new ideas. They don't follow directions. They don't get their stuff done on time. It's just like they're a drag on, like, they're a drag on the whole team. And what we know from the literature is that a D level performer, one D level performer can outweigh the contributions of two A level performers. So then that becomes, what is the difference between an A level performer and a workaholic? I mean, an A level performer could be a workaholic. Some people love working. They don't necessarily need to be, though. So if you're in a scenario where, like, you have a team that's built of, like, you got a couple rock stars, your A-level performers, you got mostly, like, B-level performers, they're in the middle, like, fine, they're not good, they're not bad. Then you have C and D-level performers, and if you have too many D-level performers on the team, they distract the team so much that no matter how many A-level performers you are never gonna be able to get ahead because the D-level performers are just counterbalancing any contribution those A-level performers make. If they created conflict, Peter, they wouldn't be an A-level performer, they'd be a B or a C-level performer. If you're constantly creating conflict, you're not an A-level performer. The A-level performers are the ones that you don't notice. The A-level performers are often the ones that don't get your attention because they come in, they do their job, they do it well, they go above and beyond. You don't have to reprimand them. They just, like, they're easy. The A-level performers are the easiest people to manage in the world, but not the point I'm making here. So if we have a scenario where we have a team where too many like, so if you're thinking about, okay, well, I have this team, it's made up of all different types of performers. How do I improve the overall performance of the team? Well, you could spend your time trying to bring the D level performers up to snuff, but the fact of the matter is that you can never get a D level performer to be an A level performer. It just does not work. And it might be a matter of motivation, it might be a matter of intelligence, it might be a matter of just desire. If it like most D-level performers, they don't want that level of responsibility because being a high performer does actually come with additional responsibility, regardless of whether or not you have, like, a technical responsibility in your job, whatever. So you can never get a D-level performer to be an A-level performer, right? You can coach a C-level performer and maybe even on a good day, a D level performer to be at the B level. You can get them up to, like, they're not causing problems, they're average, like, whatever. They're not perfect, but they're not horrible. However, where you are going to get the most bang for your buck is if you work on coaching the B level performers up to the level of the A level performers, and you actually spend more of your time coaching the A level performers to make sure that they have everything that they need. Because if you give them everything that they need, they are going to be fire in what they produce. So, what you're supposed to do is spend most of your time with your B level performers and your A level performers. What ends up happening, though, is that most people spend all of their time on a D level performer, desperately trying to get them to improve, desperately trying to get them to shape up, desperately trying to get them to contribute. And maybe you can see potential in this person, but it just doesn't work, and that's why they're a D level performer. And so all of a sudden, all of your resources are going into the lowest level performer that you possibly like the lowest level performer on the team, where your B level performers and your A level performers are getting none of your attention at all because there are only so many hours in the day, because all of your attention is going to the low performers on the team. Does anyone see the problem with this? So now let me ask you guys this. If you had the choice between creating a small team of that is made up entirely of A and B level performers with no C and D and certainly no F level performers, but definitely no C and D performers dragging down the team, or you had the other option of having a much larger team, but it was going to be disproportionately made up of C and D level performers. So let me repeat the choices again. Choice number 1 is a small team that is made up entirely of A and B level performers. Choice number 2 is a large team that is disproportionately made up of C and D level performers. So you have significantly more manpower than you do in choice number 1, but the quality of the manpower is extremely low. In option number 1, we have a small amount of manpower, but the quality of the manpower is really high. In option number 2, we have a very large amount of manpower, but the quality of the manpower is really low, and it's going to be filled with people who are dragging down the high performers on the team. Which do you choose, 1 or 2? Reagan says option 1. Average person says option 1. SG says the small team every day. Shuffler says always the small team with A and B level performers. Reagan says quality and efficiency. Moxie says 1. Quality over quantity. You get more done with the first option. Option 1. Option 1. Beth says, oh gosh, chat jump. Beth says small. Josh says small and lean. Bashful Rue says you destroy the morale of your A and B level performers when you coddle the Ds. Would rather have a small team. That's exactly right. Sid the Cat says option number 1. SG says small team, easier communication and coordination. Greater than 4 to 5 team members impossible. Actually, well, you can have teams up to about 8 people. 8 people is like really the max. EM 1. Tinge, small elite. Exactly. The cult is option 1. Joe spent, well, a good bit of his stream last night saying, she obviously wants numbers. She obviously wants numbers. Everyone wants numbers. We all want numbers. She obviously wants numbers. Well, not when those numbers are the wrong numbers. And I have thought about this a lot. And I think the reality is this. My goal with this, but also like more so with my Substack, because YouTube is supplementary to my Substack. And it's a place where I can talk about issues and think things through, and like we have a good time with it. We have fun. My goal is to create a small group of A and B level performers that are dedicated to learning what's going on, to picking apart what's going on, to exposing what's going on. And then if I've done my job really, really, really well, I will be able to download as much information from my brain as I can out to all of you and teach you in a way where you can go and teach other people. And maybe even in an ideal world, we can all work together to attract more A and B level performers to the team. That would be my preference. So it's going to grow small. It's going to be like a longer growth cycle. But I really do believe that we can attract more people but not the wrong people. And I think what last night very, very clearly showed me is how important this piece is. And I always knew it was important, but I I can't. I cannot with this. I cannot. I will not allow outrage junkies and morons to come into this community and to disrupt the learning that we are trying to do, because this is not about entertainment for me. I'm not an entertainer. I may make jokes sometimes, and some of you guys say I'm funny, and that's good, but I don't do this to entertain people. I do this because I want us to actually be able to be productive and move the needle. And I truly believe that if we can start to go out into local communities and work with real people, not on the internet, real people, and show them what is going on in terms of just like not clickbait, not outrage porn, not TikTok videos, not things that are edited, just receipts. Here is what is going on. Here is what is being taught at this conference. Here is what your kid was given for homework. Here is what they're being taught in class. Here is what the curriculum looks like. Here is what the teacher training video is. I think that's the only way to get people on the left to wake up. And I think the greatest asset that we have is disaffected lefties. Because one of the main differences between the right and the left, again, we talked about this. The right has a complete savior complex. King Peter, the chat says, we really need to find an A-level media person who will simplify and broadcast the things we find. The vast majority can't swallow the mountains and the mountains of feces we have to deal with to find. Yeah, find the truth. Yeah, I, Peter, I think this is a really great aspiration, and I agree with it if such a thing exists. And I hope it does. God knows it's not going to be me. But I agree with this if we can find it. It would be really beneficial, but not at any cost. So we have two sides that we can pull from, right? Because that's the reality of the world. As much as I would, Sam Cedar is not an A-level performer, Autumn. He's not funny anymore. He's not, I don't, no, 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 no. So we have two sides we can pull from, right? The right has this complete and total savior complex, which is they are always looking for someone else to save them. They never take personal responsibility themselves. And I don't think they're smart enough to understand what's going on. No, I'm not saying there aren't individuals on the right who are smart enough. There absolutely are. Like, I have people, contrary to what Joe seems to think, I have people of all political persuasions on my channel, everywhere from conservative all the way up to socialist. But I just don't think that the majority of them are smart enough to understand what's going on. And because they're not smart enough to understand what's going on, they are perpetually going to be a C and D performer, because it's going to take too long and too much energy to be able to like coach them to get them to a place of like basic understanding, let alone advanced understanding. Milo, this is not going to work. He is not interested, and I am not doing shows anymore. I am not going on anyone's show anymore ever again. I'm done. I'm retired. I briefly came out of retirement the other night. against my better judgment, and it resulted in another round of my friend getting doxxed and another round of conservative smear campaigns and another round of bullshit, all because they disagreed with an opinion. And so he's not interested. He's never been interested. I don't actually think he really cares about this stuff in the first place. I think the only thing he cares about is money. And even if he was, I am not interested anymore. So we have the right that is generally not smart enough to understand what's going on. We have a lot of disaffected people on the left who don't like what's happening in the schools, and I think that that is an inroad to getting more disaffected lefties. But that takes time and energy, right? It takes time to red pill people. Let me just see the chat. Why do people love smear campaigns so much? Because they have nothing else in their sad, pathetic, loser lives. That's why. No, I can't. No, I can't. Listen, guys. First of all, if the what did we just talk about? We're talking about I want to grow A and B level performers. When I go on these shows, the people that I hear the most from are not the A and B level performers. They're the C, D, and F level performers. Because we're not focusing on quantity, we're focusing on quality. And what ends up happening when audiences are filled with low quality, low IQ, the most awful people on the internet is not only does it not grow my audience, not only does it not spread my message, but it also ends up with my friends getting doxxed and smear campaigns being spread about me because they're such good conservatives that that's their default. Well, then you're not useful to me. Then you're not useful to me. And like I don't really want you here. Like if you're not willing to actually contribute, this is not the channel for you. Like why are you even here? Why are you bothering to learn about this stuff if you're not willing to put on your big girl pants and do something about it? There are any number of channels that are more entertaining than mine. Go to one of them. So what are we going to do with our small but high quality team? Well, we're already building systems to be able to expose what's going on in the schools at scale. That's schools exposed. That's been going on for a minute, regardless of what people say. Isn't this the truth? When slow people realize they're useless, they attack those who are creative. Ain't that the truth? Is he really? Well, someone needs to be. But Beth, he's a man. He can get away with more than I can. So what are we going to do? Well, I have some ideas. I want to show you this article that I put up on my Substack earlier, which of course is Carlyn, Karlyn.substack.com. How can a small group of high quality people that are not interested in bullshit, are not interested in drama, are not going to be doxing people, are not going to be smearing people. And by the way, guys, if I ever find people in my community that are engaging in doxing and smear campaigns, you will be exited out of the community immediately. And I am not fucking around about this. I don't think you would. But I just want to make that expectation clear because this is a new day. I am no longer effing around with this. Miracle says, look at those dogs. Oh my God, Carlin, I just hopped over to Candace Owens because I'm ADD, and she just said the Duggars weren't that bad as parents. Oh no. Oh God. Oh no, I don't want to read the comments. I don't want to. So, we are already working on digging through mountains of boring school documents. We're doing that within the Schools Exposed stuff. But I want to go one step further because how do we get ahead of the game? Because of course, I'm not just going to bitch and complain about a problem. I'm going to try to come up with a solution to the problem. And even if I only move the needle a fraction of an inch, and even if we only reach a couple of people, but those people go out into their community and they teach each other things and they get their kids out of school and they start homeschooling, whatever. That's a pretty big effing impact. All right? So one of the things that I really want to double down on is training infiltration. This was also known as spy stream. This started as spy stream, or quite frankly happy hour. Happy hour started over 2 years ago now, where we watch a recorded woke training from start to finish. We watch it all. We watch the boring bits, we watch the cringy bits. We do it on Fridays at 5 p.m. And we do that every single week, and we watch a new training and we learn what the woke left is teaching. That was happy hour. Happy hour evolved into spy stream. And spy stream's great. Spy stream can also get me in trouble every now and again, but it's really great. What we do on spy stream is we infiltrate a live training. We record the whole effing thing. These are like private trainings. And then we broadcast it on the internet because F these people. I want to see what they're doing, and I want you to see what they're doing as well. And I have no idea what they're going to be training on. And this is how we have exposed some of the most corrupt, effed up stuff in the known universe. Then that evolved with me jumping in a month and a half ago and going to the Socialist Reproductive Justice Conference in person. It was like I was inside of a spy stream. It was like I was inside of a Socialism Saturday. And the advantage of going to an in-person event is that not only do you get to hear the things that they're not broadcasting on the internet, but you also get to meet the vendors and the community partners. Because we all know that in the schools, the schools work with these things called community partners. And basically, these are outside organizations that typically end up being activist organizations that are integrating social justice into the curriculum, and they're being paid with your tax dollars to do it. So we have 3 levels here. We have recorded trainings that are posted on the internet, on YouTube, on their websites, elsewhere. As long as there's a video, they're not always posted on YouTube. Recorded trainings are the easiest entry point into this. The next level is spy stream. And spy stream can be one presentation, but the reality is that a lot of conferences are virtual now. And so there can be multiple presentations throughout the day that are streamed virtually, or multiple presentations going on at the same time that would require multiple streams to document. So it's like you're taking spy stream and hopefully still doing that, but also kind of like amping it up in case there are larger virtual events. And then the highest level of this is, of course, the in-person training. Now, why am I focusing on training? Well, I made a helpful infographic. And if you guys want to see this, you can pop over to the Substack. Let me pop the link in the chat on YouTube and Rumble. Why? And because I understand why people don't get this. And I understand why people think this is boring. I'm an organizational psychologist. I have done thousands of hours of this type of training in organizations. And so for me, this idea just makes sense. If you understand what people are being trained in, you understand what's coming next. So why does infiltrating their trainings matter? Exposing the schools shows what is already being implemented in schools after it's implemented. It's reactive. And then the job is to remove it. And no one does reactive better than the conservative right. So this is like right in their wheelhouse. Something happens, a problem gets created by the left. Eventually, somewhere down the line, the right figures it out and they react and they about it, okay? This is different because infiltrating their trainings shows us what's coming before it's in the schools. It's a proactive strategy that will allow us to get a preview of what's coming before it actually gets implemented. Because when you go to conferences, anyone who's ever been to a conference knows this. When you go to like a conference, that's where you're learning the newest things, right? That's where you're learning, like, you're hearing from these speakers who are implementing the newest things and the newest strategies. You wouldn't go to a conference to learn how to do things you've already done. You go to a conference to learn about the new things. And so, looking at conferences and trainings are a way that we can figure out what is being suggested to them before it actually gets into the schools. And so, here's how this works. At these woke conferences, what happens is you have these woke activists, usually from woke activist organizations, and they're like training the people who are going to be teaching your kids in school. So these are all of our innocent teachers, and a lot of teachers are useful idiots. Now the vast majority of teachers are already indoctrinated into the woke left ideology. Don't get it twisted, like they mostly are, but most of them don't know it, okay? Most of them have no idea because they've never been taught any differently. They don't know. And thank you. They don't know what's going on. This is the only thing they have ever known about teaching because the left has infiltrated all the colleges, all the schools of education, all the boards of education, all the training programs, and so they've never been taught any differently. So they are our useful innocents or our useful idiots, as the case may be. But the people who mostly do the training at these events are the activists, okay? So teachers go to these events because they need to learn and they need to amass professional development credit because that's the way it works, and they get trained from these activists. And then what happens? They take the training from the activists and they go back to the schools and they go to the public schools, the private schools, and the charter schools, all types of schools, and they bring ideas from that training back to the schools. So what's presented at these conferences is considered to be best practice. Therefore, you can virtually guarantee that at least some of it will end up being implemented in the classroom. Now, we don't know what's going to be implemented in the classroom because it's like with any training, right? And again, anyone who's ever gone to a conference, you know how this works. You go to this conference for like several days and you get some golden nuggets from that conference and you go back to your job and you implement a golden nugget here or there. You don't implement everything you learn because that's like not possible, right? But you take inspiration from what was taught at this conference and you implement your golden nuggets. Everyone tracking? Everyone know what I'm talking about? So we can make the assumption that when the useful idiot teachers go to these conferences and events and they do these trainings, it's not as though they're all going to go back and implement everything they learned, but they are going to probably implement some of it, at least one or two things. And I think we can make that assumption. So then you have these trad wives that basically get turned into activists because the trainings are where the useful idiots or the useful innocents are turned into activists. And so that's why. And then they start teaching all the crazy stuff, the 2 plus 2 equals 5, like word of the day non-binary. And of course, you have the kids that are just there trusting what's going on, right? You can send it to activelyunwoke@gmail.com and it will get to me. Guys, if you ever want to send email, this email address will get to me if you're sending me something that's like important. Or like, or if you're not spamming me. I'm very blessed to have people like sort through the spam on that one, but like if you're sending important stuff, it'll actually get to me. So, does everyone understand, right? The activist teachers are created at the training events based on what they're being taught. They don't always know what's going on. So that means when we infiltrate the training events, that is when we get eyes into what's coming down the pike. Does everyone understand the strategy here? I want to make sure people really get it. So we're already putting systems in place to dig through school documents and expose what's going on already in the schools. And now what I want to do is put systems in place and strategies in place that we can organize on as a community in order to actually get ahead of the curve, in order to understand what they're teaching before it comes into the schools. Can everyone just let me know in the chat whether or not you're tracking? And I think that this is something that people in the community can work on. Rottweiler says, how ironic. The thing that made me pay more attention was the fact that a couple years ago, when I was a part-time teacher at a public school, they sent us to an SEL workshop. Exactly. Exactly. Because that's how the activists are getting into the schools. Okay, people are tracking. Yes. You know, I try. I try, Dustin. Basic reconnaissance and intelligence gathering, essentially. Yes, tracking. Good, 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 good. Awesome. Good, good, great. Okay. So what do we get when we go to events like this? What types of things do we get? Well, the benefits of doing these things, they're already publicly available to begin with. So and usually they're publicly available in person and online, which means we can just pay money and sign up for it. Now the cost is these things cost money. We'll talk about that in a second. So the cost is like you have to pay a registration fee usually. Um if you are going to an in-person event, you need like plane and hotel and stuff like that. And also if like you want like to record stuff, you have cameras. But like, you know, there are basic costs that are associated with this, but they are publicly available. And usually anyone can register for this stuff, right? When you attend their trainings, you get to see this stuff up close and you get access to the materials. So you get their slide decks, you get their flyers, you get their business cards, you get their secret tools that they only present at conferences. Okay? When we get access to their materials, that's when we can make sure we're recording their materials as much as we can, taking pictures of their materials, scanning their materials, and putting them online and explaining what exactly it is that they're teaching and what they and creating things that people can actually show to other people in their lives, in their communities to say, Are you comfortable with this? So we get access to their materials, which is really important. When you attend in-person events, you also get access to something called the sponsorship hall or the vendor hall or whatever. Like at any in-person event, there's always going to be sponsors and vendors. They usually have like tables in the back of the room, or they have their own separate area where like you go to get a snack or something and all the vendor tables are there and they're all trying to sell you stuff. So the vendor tables and the vendor things are actually one of the most useful pieces of going to a conference because, again, these are the activist organizations. So not only do we get to know what's being trained to the teachers, we also get to hear from the organizations directly that are trying to sell schools things to implement with your kids. That might be social emotional learning. That might be I don't know, stuff to train kids on how to be non-binary or something like that. Like I met at the Socialist Reproductive Justice Conference, I met an organization that was literally doing psychotherapy on like trans 3-year-olds. Like that's what we're talking about. And so you never quite know who you're going to find in the vendor hall, but it's like you get so much useful information. It was a vendor at that socialist conference that gave me a 4-page book list with all the books that they have for like elementary school trans kids. They have like actually really useful materials. That's stuff we need to be collecting. That's stuff we need to be scanning. That's stuff we need to be putting online. And usually you only get that at in-person events, right? So you get all sorts of access to all of these things that are going on. Now, this is one of the things that I would like to do with members of this community. This is one of the things that I would like to double down on because I can do a lot by myself. I can't do some of this by myself. I can do it sometimes, but I also think that there are going to be events where I'm going to need multiple people involved in it. And also, even if you don't want to be involved in like actually going to the events or helping us stream the events or helping us document the events, what you can do is share the information out, and that's just as usual as useful. Brian says, "I can't wait to contribute." Awesome, Brian. So, there are three ways that people can help. Number one is there are two, possibly three, like events that I would like to attend for the remainder of the year. And there might be more that come up, but those are what we're working on right now. The next one is coming up in like a couple months, like August, okay? But there are things that I need to do leading up to that event in order to attend and to do other things. So, one of the things that is the most helpful for me is if you guys want to support this, one of the very best things you can do is get a paid subscription to the Substack. Now, a couple weeks ago, I basically said if I didn't get 200 new supporters on the Substack, I wasn't going to do this shit anymore because this shit was costing me too much money, and I was paying for all of it, and I didn't want to continue to bleed money on things that people weren't interested in. So I said, if people show up and they start signing up, then I'm going to be able to have the resources to do this. And if people want me to do it, then they can sign up and contribute $5 a month or $50 a year to make sure that I have the resources to actually do what needs to be done, to buy plane tickets, to get hotels, to get equipment, to do all that stuff. And that's what I was asking for. If people wanted this type of content, I was more than happy to provide it, but I can't keep bleeding out my savings on this stuff. I just can't. So, I said that if I get 100, like at the time it was like 200 new subscribers, that I would do this. And if I didn't, then I wouldn't. Well, actually, and this was like a couple weeks ago, like about almost 70 of you actually stepped up, like actually over 70 of you, to be honest, because there's always like churn with subscribers, but like over 70 of you stepped up right away. And we're like, yes, Carlin, we want you to do this. And you paid for a subscription. I was like, holy shit. I was honestly really surprised. So I'm going to modify my tactic today. Because what I said a couple weeks ago was that if I didn't hit this number, that I wasn't going to do it. We are going to do it. But the amount that I can do will be directly reflective of the amount that people want to contribute. Oh god, I wish I stayed in luxury suites at the hotel. I usually stay in the Hampton Inn with, like, the free breakfast because the waffles in the Hampton Inn are the best. Come on, who doesn't like a good Hampton Inn waffle? So, because so many people stepped up immediately, I was like, I have to, like, because here's the thing, guys, the people who are stepping up are the A and B players. And I don't wanna let people down, you know? And so we are going to do something with this upcoming event, and what we are able to do will be reflective of how many people sign up and contribute. I would still like to get to that 200 number. Just mathematically, that makes sense. Um, and the reason I'm asking for it on the Substack is because it's reliable income that I can plan on. So if I know I have this amount of money to work with on like a monthly basis, that allows me to plan to say, this is what we're going to put towards plane tickets and hotel rooms and like all this stuff. Because I'm not running a nonprofit here. I'm not going to be like Project Veritas. I'm not putting a nonprofit together with a board that can fire me. F that. Um, but I do want to have that like to be able to plan. Now, if you can't financially donate or you already are, we're going to talk about other things in a second. I did just get an email from someone saying they already contribute. Perfect. If you're already contributing, you don't need to do anything. I am not asking anything more from people who are already contributing. Because part of this is I want to bring new people into the fold of like what's going on and to get them to see the value of this and to hopefully help us spread the message on it too. James Jones, I had to ask ChatGPT what acronym I was trying to remember. You're planning to get through the OODA cycle faster than your opponent. What is OODA? I don't know what that is. I've never heard that acronym before. Or maybe it's just like it's an acronym that doesn't stick out to me. Illustration Station, aren't you subscribed on the? Yeah, you did subscribe on the Substack. No, yeah, like you're cool. Listen, guys, I really want to emphasize this. I am not asking people who are already supporting to step up. If you want to do more, I'm not going to turn down the money, right? Like, I mean, that would be stupid. But like, if you are already doing your part, like, I don't want people breaking their budgets and their banks. What I would prefer is that more people who value this type of thing and value this type of content to step up and contribute, because the more people we have contributing, the lower the burden is on everyone. Holiday Inn Express isn't bad. Yeah, I'm not staying in luxury hotels. I wish. I wish. Are there any other content creators that you trust? No. None. None. Absolutely none. Never trust content creators. That is the number one rule that I've learned. No, Beth, you no, come on, Beth. Jesus. So, that's one way that you guys can help. Now, Michael May here says, when I get a job and on my feet again, I'll hit the Substack. Okay, that's awesome. But Michael, in the meantime, there are other ways that you can help. So the next thing I need is that I'm going to need volunteers. Now, this is going to be a little tricky. And for right now, I am only going to be taking volunteers that I know that are active in my community. So there are different people in my community. Number one are people who are like active. They show up to the chat. They show up in locals. They're active on the Substack, etc., etc., etc. Oh no, George. Oh no, I'm really sorry to hear that. Our locals and Substack subscriptions relate. Locals and Substack are separate subscriptions, but you get access to the same perks, and it's just a matter of what your preference is. Oh, Jenny, thank you. I just ponied up. Sorry it took me so long. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. And you know what, guys? Like, I also haven't done a good job of explaining what this is. And so this is partially my fault. I've been going through like some angst with everything and being really frustrated. And so I hadn't done a good job of explaining what was going on. Anyway, I need volunteers to help me. And I right now am going to be looking for volunteers who are active members of my community. What that means is not necessarily that you're a paying supporter, but that I know who you are. Okay? James Jones says the observant, orient, decide, act loop. We started watching what the woke were talking about in the past. Now you want to see more before they implement. That's really interesting, James Jones. I'm going to take a picture of that. I'm going to look that up later. I don't think I've heard of that before. So, how you volunteer, and I know that a lot of you have wanted to be involved, especially like in the conference infiltration stuff. And so, what you need to do if you want to be involved is to go to the Substack, and this is the pinned article at the moment, and click volunteer to help, and that's going to take you to a form, and the form is real simple. It's literally just, what is your name? What is your email? Are you a regular viewer or supporter of my work? If so, what platforms do you frequent and what screen name do you go by? And guys, I will be confirming that this is actually you. Okay? So whatever your screen name is, it doesn't have you don't have to give your real name either. What's your Twitter account? You don't have to have a Twitter account, but if you do, I want to know what it is. And is there anything else you'd like to add? That's it. That's it. If you're already in the Unwoke Army, do you have to fill out the form? That's a good question, bot. So I posted in the Unwoke Army Discord earlier who wants to be involved in this stuff. So no, you don't have to fill out the form if you're already in the Unwoke Army. Um, but like just answer in the Discord. That would be great. So fill out the form. Let me know who you are. People who are in the Unwoke Army Discord are already vetted. But the thing is, and the reason now, some of you might be like, Carlin, I've been listening to your work forever. I just don't interact with you. I'm just not involved. Okay, I understand. I really, really do. Fill out the form and be honest in your assessment that like you say like you listen to my stuff all the time and you just don't interact, and give me your social media and I'm going to double check it, because here's the thing. As you guys know, based on the bullshit that happened the other night, but that has been perpetually happening for 2 years, I have a lot of people, and most of those people are on the conservative right, who are constantly trying to destroy and undermine and sabotage every single thing that I do, because they're retarded morons who only know how to destroy things. And so I have to be really, really careful about who I allow into the Unwoke Army Discord, because, like, there's stuff in there that I don't want anyone just kind of like willy nilly off the street seeing. Okay. And so I'm open to having as many volunteers as want to volunteer, but I need to know who you are. You can just put Murphy's Pool, Murphy's Pool. I know who you are. You don't have to use your real name. You're not obligated to use your real name, but you're going to have to give us something to call you. And by the way, guys, you never have to be public. You can always be anonymous, all right? I'm not doing background checks. I need to be careful, because there have been instances in the past when this horde of unhinged lunatics, they've actually paid money to get into my communities before. And so there's no amount of money that you can pay to get into my Unwoke Army Discord. Like, you are not in that Unwoke Army Discord unless I vet you and I decide to add you to it. Okay? And so I need to be really careful, because these assholes are serious about destroying every single thing that I do. And if we are going through all the effort of organizing to expose what's going on in these events, then I don't want these assholes to get in there, find out which events we're targeting, tip them off, and fuck up the whole thing. And it's less about protecting me than it is about actually protecting the project, you know? All right, so that's the next thing you can do. If you want to volunteer, fill out the form to help. If you are already in the Unwoke Army Discord, just respond to the post that I posted earlier. If you're not yet in the Discord, fill out the form and we can figure it out. Lastly, I don't have to be the one finding all the trainings, okay? And also, I don't always have to be the one doing this. Every single one of you is perfectly capable of finding and attending trainings because attending these trainings is no big deal. We're not being disruptive. We're not going to go in and create chaos. We're literally just listening. We're listening. We're getting their slide decks. We're getting their materials. We're taking pictures of them. And we are, without outrage, without without the gotcha moment, because I'm not going to devolve into this bullshit. We're just showing people what's going on. I never want to fall into the trap that Project Veritas did, because Project Veritas, and I probably believe this is James O'Keefe's fault, have made mistakes. Project Veritas got caught editing things out of context. I never want to do that. I want to show what is going on from start to finish in a way that is easily digestible for people, and then to say, are you comfortable with this? I never want what we're doing to be a sales pitch or to be a propaganda piece or anything like that. And I think I've done a fairly decent job of that. I think I have, but that's very much top of mind for me. Anyway, another way that you guys can help is if you find trainings that you think would be good to infiltrate, let me know. I've set up a separate email address. It's spy@activelyunwoke.com. And I'm the only one with access to that particular email address because I just set it up today. And if you want to do your own investigations and you want to send materials, you can send it to that address. If you want to let me know about events because you think I might be interested in them, you can send them to that address. You can also always DM me on Twitter. My DMs are open on Twitter. So that's another avenue as well. But I thought that would be like a good place to kind of get it all in one place. And so and you're always free to do this yourself, and if you just, attend a training off the cuff and you record it or whatever, or you get screenshots or you get access to a recording, send it over. I would love to see it, because I'm a nerd about this stuff and I wanna see what's going on. So those are the 3 ways that you can help, guys. You can become a supporter on the Substack, or there are other ways you can donate too. I just really prefer the Substack because it keeps kind of everything in one place. But if you want to donate on other platforms, whether that be Locals or Patreon or making a one-time gift through the website, those are available as well. I just am encouraging people to use Substack. If you want to volunteer to help, you can fill out a form, and I would love to hear from people that are active in the community and that want to be involved. And if you want to do infiltrations of your own, and I'm being, to be really clear, I'm being a little spicy when I use the word infiltration. We're not really infiltrating things. We're paying money to sign up for a training and then we're going to watch the training. That's all it is. We're just trying to spice it up a little bit for fun. But it's really kind of like the most mundane, boring thing in the world. You're going to a training, you're listening to what they have to say, you're getting their slide deck, and then maybe we put it on the internet if it's worth putting on the internet, right? So you can do that. You can do your own. You can send me the materials. I'm happy to always elevate. If you guys want to infiltrate trainings and write articles for the Substack about them, I'm happy to give you a byline if you want that byline. I don't need to be the one taking all the credit, especially when I don't do the work. And so you can get in touch at spy@activelyunwoke if you want to do that, if you want to send training, stuff like that. And you can always DM me on Twitter as well. And that's where we're going to focus our energy, guys. That and Schools Exposed. And I like the two-pronged approach because what's going on in the schools needs to be exposed. I still think that the right has no fucking clue what they're dealing with when it comes to the schools. Yeah, this is another thing. I'm gonna work on a community partners mind map some more. That's a great idea, Reagan. I would love to build that. And this has always been kind of like on my list of 87 things I want to do. I want to create a whole community partners activist directory. So that can be a project that we work on. But you would be really good at that too. I also have a research project that I want to do about about socialist college professors. That is gonna be like I started kind of, like, playing around with it the other night. It's gonna be such an effing nightmare. Some people know what I'm talking about, most people don't, but there are all sorts of if you are a good researcher, maybe you don't wanna do this and infiltrate events. If you are, like, a rock star researcher, I have so many projects that just honestly, they're not hard, but I need people who speak socialist. So if you watch Socialism Saturdays frequently, I need people who speak socialist and understand the language. They're not hard, they're just time consuming and they require focus. So I have other stuff there too. And Reagan is a great researcher bot. All right. Yeah, we're organizing by state in terms of like schools exposed and trying to get people like state by state for that. That's going to be something within that program. But I don't know so much for this, like, even with schools exposed, it's like it takes a while to reach critical mass in all states, so we kinda need to, like, work with each other right now for that. Sin, you are our matriarch of the community. You are our guiding light and our inspiration, Sin. Awesome. And guys, my hope with all of this, and I was actually gonna do Reagan, it's actually funny that you mentioned the, mind map because I was gonna do a little brainstorming today. I actually had a mind map pulled up and ready to go, and I thought we could do some public brainstorming. But I've already been streaming for an hour and a half, and I don't feel like doing that now. But this, guys, is how we're gonna make progress in an era of stupidity. Because I can't control the left, God knows. And I sure as shit can't control the morons on the right. And what I am going to try to do. Oh, Jamie, you're in the Bay Area? Jamie, you are our new best friend. Guys, there are so many conferences and events. There are so many events all over the place, all the time. Things that most people have never heard of because all these activist organizations have their own events. And so if we can find the activist organizations, we can find the events. And events can be like a couple hundred people. Events can be tens of thousands of people. But last night what really did show me that a hyper focus is required and that the strategy of the small but high quality community is going to be far superior to the strategy of the large low quality community. Oh, watch the stream from last night. Oh, it was intense. And that's what I'm going to focus on. And the rules going forward are going to be, well, I know that I don't need to say this to the most of the people here, but I've already had to block a couple people today. Guys, I'm no longer fighting. I'm no longer begging. I'm no longer pleading. If you are going to bring outrage and bullshit into my chat, you will be exited and blocked immediately. If I ever see you on another channel engaging in bullshit directed at my community or shit talking my community, then and you come in here and pretend to be nice and then you go somewhere else and shit talk as I did catch people last night, you will be immediately exited from the community. And I'm not going to tell you what to say and do. You all have free speech, you all have free association, you all can do whatever you want. but I am not going to allow the outrage bullshit here. There were multiple people last night on that stream. And actually, you know what, Brooklyn? You know what? One of them actually followed me on Twitter today. She used to be in the YouTube chat like all the time. She followed me on Twitter today and she looked exactly like you might surmise that she looked. And I know it was her because she had the same name as her YouTube name. And she had been pretending to be a part of this community for like a while. And then she said in a super chat, shit talking me and blatantly spreading lies. I was like, and then she followed me on Twitter today. I was like, okay, I see what's going on. I see what's going on. So I blocked her ass immediately, and she can have all the feelings she wants about it. But I'm no longer dicking around, guys. Like this is like it is too much. The conservative right has jumped the goddamn shark. Did you guys see? Side note. Did you guys see that Dave Rubin blocked Vivek Ramaswamy's press secretary and is now in a fight with Kathy Barnett about it on Twitter? And apparently, did you guys know? I'm calling the DeSantis supporters the DeSantis drones. No offense if you're a DeSantis supporter, but like if you are like engaging in bullshit and drama, I'm going to call you a DeSantis drone. Did you guys see that DeSantis supporters are saying that Vivek Ramaswamy is a psyop and that he's a secret Trump infiltrator? And Dave Rubin apparently is spreading this shit on Twitter. Blocked Vivek's press secretary when she called him out on it. I wonder how much money he's getting paid by the DeSantis campaign. So disappointing. So disappointing. Yeah, it's all on Twitter, Sing. Go look. Kathy was giving him the businessman. And listen, Kathy is the best. Kathy Barnett. She works for Vivek. She's like his grassroots campaign director. Ah, God. I don't know if he's a Fed, but man, the shilling for DeSantis is something else, isn't it? All right, guys. So that's what we're going to do. We are going to block out all the bullshit. We are going to block out all the drama. I want to strongly encourage everyone, if you see people online attacking me, just block them. Do not engage. Do not waste your time. And I appreciate when I see people defending me. I really do. I appreciate people who do it in a way that I can't even express. But what I want to articulate is it is a waste of time. It is a waste of your energy. Those people are pod people. They are in a cult. There is nothing that you can do about it. There is nothing that you can do to ever convince them. They're going to keep reeing and carrying on no matter what you do. So just block them. Just block them and move on. And I will commit to you guys that I am no longer going to engage in this bullshit. Because I have engaged in it probably a little bit too much, and it's been distracting to me too. But I really think that if we can put on our tunnel vision, if we can hyper focus on the things that matter, if we can ignore all of the morons on YouTube and the retards on Twitter, then we might actually be able to accomplish something. And it doesn't matter if it gets coverage or not. It doesn't matter if it goes viral on the internet, because one of the things I do know about my Substack is it goes directly to parents. And it gets directly to parents. And it gets to disaffected lefties. And it gets to independents. And it gets to people in the real effing world. And that's what matters. That we are getting real information that is level-headed, that is not outrage porn, that is just presenting the damn facts in a way that is unequivocal, that is not taken out of context, that is not a gotcha piece, and giving it to real people and saying, Are you comfortable with this? And giving people tools that allow them to have conversations with their friends, their family members, their communities, saying, are you comfortable with this? Does this sound like a good plan for people? Let me know in the chat. And there's more than enough work to do. And there's more than enough for everyone to be involved. And I'll tell you this too. If you want to do journalism, if you want to investigate these things, if you want to research these things, and you want to publish on my Substack, I will let anyone do it. You can have your own byline. You can use your real name or not. If you don't want to publish under your name, I will publish for you and I will still give you credit under like your internet name or whatever. If you don't want that, fine. But I am making my resources and my platform available to anyone who wants to use it productively. And a small group of dedicated, high-quality people who are not distracted by morons and retards can change things. And we'll figure it out on the way. And that's all I have for today. But guys, please remember to mount that like button on the way out the door. Of course, please remember to subscribe to the channel if you have not already. And if you want, this is Tuesday. And so this is not my last stream of the day. It is but my first stream of the day. And tonight, in about 3 hours, we will be gathering back for nothing remotely controversial. This is a show that Joshua and I do on Tuesday nights at 9:30, where we talk about the news and what is going on in the world. And Joshua, who is a professional psychic, uses his psychic powers to help us peer beneath the surface and find out what's really going on. It is a lighthearted show. It is for fun. Even if you don't believe in psychics, come and join us because we have a great time, and it always does lighten the mood. Beth says, I have been reaching out to some local churches. I want to show some of your trainings to the churches. They need to wake up. I think that would be really great, Beth. All right, guys, we'll work it out. I will see you in about 3 hours. And if not, tomorrow at 5 p.m., where tomorrow we're going to have Dennis on the channel, Dennis from Pork Fest. Dennis and Phil are going to be on the channel, and we're going to be talking about first timers at Pork Fest. If you don't know what Pork Fest is, come and learn what Pork Fest is, because it is only the greatest liberty event in the world, and it is in a couple of weeks, and I'm so excited. It is the greatest week of the year. I'm going to be exhibiting my Unwoke art stuff. I'm really happy about that, and Dennis is always just a treasure to have on the channel. We love him, and he will be here with Phil and I tomorrow at 5 p.m. That's all we have for right now, guys. Take care. We'll see you soon.